shear and protect punches. So down here at the 4-foot shear, this is referred to as guillotine shear, jump shear, bush shear, goes by a number of different names. It's very simple to operate. First thing you do is you place your part on the table. You can either place your part on the table by making a few marks and lining it up with the scale on the table. These are 1-inch marks. There's also a ruler on the side here, a fence. Or what you can do is make a mark where you want to cut. Look down between the knife holder and the guard. You'll see the very edge of the table, and the edge of the table is where it cuts. You will then line your mark up with the edge of the table, set the clamp, which also is the guard, and then step on the pedal, and away it goes. Okay? The knives have been sharpened recently, so they work fairly well. The thing that you have to be aware of with this machine is that the foot treadle goes all the way to the floor. So you've got to make sure your feet are out from underneath it, and also make sure that anyone standing around waiting to use the machine, they tend to be curious, they tend to get close. Make sure their feet are out from under it before you step on the pedal as well. Saves people from getting bruised feet. The machine itself is guarded at the front by this big casting here and the fingers that are behind it. Unfortunately, there is no guard at the back of the machine. Please do not operate this machine if there is somebody back there grabbing their parts, and by no means should anyone be back there waiting to catch parts, okay? It just is a bad idea, and if somebody puts their fingers in the wrong place, people are going to end up losing digits, okay? So please do not do that. Now, that machine, the 4-foot, cuts 16 gauge mild steel maximum, okay? So be aware of that. This particular machine operates exactly the same way. It has one thing that's different about it. It does not have a clamp, although a clamp is not necessary. The 3-foot brown and bogs will only cut a maximum of 20 gauge material. So you have a guard, no clamp. So what you do is you just take 2 fingers, you can just place them on the back of the material, no problem. The reason you want to just put a finger at the back is because if you don't, the part will tend to want to lift up, okay? And in the process, it could shift. Okay? It has a treadle again that goes all the way to the floor, or pretty close if the blocks are out of the way. And again, it has no guarding at the back, so please be mindful of that and make sure people aren't back there and make sure people's feet are clear. The other thing we're going to look at as far as shearing machines go is this corner shear. Sure. Get a piece so we can play with it. There we go. Okay, so this is the corner shear. It is intended for use as a notching machine so that you can make the relief cuts for box construction. Unfortunately, it leaves the corners open, so it's not ideal as a box for constructing boxes, but it works in a pinch. You'll notice that there are no guards on this machine, so you've got to be aware where your fingers are at all times. Also, you'll notice the thing's got like a 2-foot handle on it, so it shouldn't take a lot of effort to cut things. There is no necessarily any gauge maximum on this machine, but the thing is that with a 2-foot handle, one person should be able to cut the material easily. Okay, you shouldn't have to struggle with it. If you are, then it's time to figure out a different method of cutting. And also, you should never add ask for any help or have anyone help you operate this machine or any other machine in the shop. They're strictly designed for one operator, okay? When two people get involved, instructions get mixed up and then people end up getting hurt. So one operator, please. Now, this particular machine is known as a throatless shear. It is generically referred to as a Beverly shear because they're the people that make them. This machine, again, has no guards, so you've got to be aware where your fingers are. It is designed to cut material into strips, but because of its shape, in terms of the blades being curved, it has a unique feature of being able to cut curves rather nicely. So you can go ahead and you can cut a fairly gentle curve with this machine. Not too badly, okay? It's one of the few metalworking machines that are manipulated by hand that allow you to do that, other than a pair of tin snips. So if you need to cut some curves, outside curves, that'll do it for you. Now, as I said, it's unguarded, but also if you have a tendency to bring your hand down towards the business end of the machine, be aware that there is this nasty rack here, and it's unguarded, and it's just waiting to pinch somebody's fingers. So once again, you've got a 3-foot handle on this thing, or better, so you shouldn't need any help to operate it, so don't. And that's about all there is with a Beverly shear. So, come on down here. These two machines are identical, okay? Just that they were made about 40 years apart. This one is loaded with round punches exclusively. This one is loaded with a combination of round and square punches. The way you operate these machines is very straightforward. There is a shot pin that locks the magazine, both the top magazine and the bottom magazine, in place. To release a shot pin for the top magazine, you take this handle with the black knob on it, you push it back. You can rotate the magazine to whatever place you want. Let's go to G. Okay, G happens to be a 3/4 or 3/8 punch. So now I have to line up, this is the punch, and now I have to line up a die with that. So I'm going to drop the shot pin out of the bottom one by pushing down on the handle. I'm going to roll the magazine around, and I'm not going to bother trying to line things up. All I'm going to do is get it close, and then I'm just going to turn the magazine until I hear a click, which means the shot pin is fallen into place. I then just take my punch handle and push it through, and there I go. Okay. Depending on the condition of the punch, you may get a large burr on the back side, you may not. Okay. Regardless, you'll get a burr of some description, and that'll happen with basically all of the machines. Deburr your parts while they're flat. Okay. And that saves a couple of things. One, the monkeying around that you would have to do to deburr it when it's all folded up. And also the danger of getting cut by your part due to a sharp burr is much reduced when you do it before you start handling it for bending. Okay? So that is the Rotex punches. Let's roll over and I'll just show you the finger brake kit. Okay, this is the finger brake. Now, in order to use this machine, all you do is you take your part, you've got your layout lines on here, you place your piece into the machine, lining up your layout lines. Now what you want to do is you want to line up your layout line with the upper edge of the fingers, clamp it into place, lift up, and it will bend your part. Now, if you overbend your piece like this, don't try and bend it back, okay? You work hard in this area by bending it. What you want to do is take it over to the bench, lay it on the edge of the bench, like so, okay? And then take a hammer and give it a couple of smacks along the edge. That'll cause it to open up. If you put any damage, or if you damage this edge, don't worry about it. Just give it a brush with a file, a little bit of Scotch-Brite. Perfect. Okay, now, you can bend the first edge, or first side, no problem. But if I bend the second side, and now I want to bend this side up, I can only go so far before I end up interfering with these two edges. So what I end up doing is having to remove blocks or manipulate the blocks around until I get blocks or a spacing of blocks, which allows me to fill the gap, okay, between the two walls. And I might take these two blocks and put them here, and then I would have enough space to bend this up, and I could bend it up completely at a 90-degree angle without damaging it. To do that, to maneuver the blocks around, I just have to undo the Allen key at the top. Out comes the block. I can then replace it, making sure I get this tongue back into place. Tighten it up, and away I go. Okay? Fairly straightforward. Now, the one thing that you should never do on any of these machines is try to cut on the shears or bend in the brake wire. Okay? That's the one no-no. If you need to cut small diameter rods, rounds, okay, or rounds in general, come see us, okay? Because you will do that either with a saw or we have special shears for it. Okay, you don't want to be working with that kind of material in these machines. They're not designed for it. Okay, so we need to go back over to the other shop